Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I'm here alongside Tate Mathews. Tate, it's been a few weeks. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to Lance and Creed and the WCS crew. I'm excited,
Heather,
man.
Heather, don't forget
Heather's not here today, but that's correct. And Heather. Happy New Year to all.
Tate, goodbye to 2020, right? We're tired of 2020.
Yeah, we're tired of 2020. We're ready for 2021 to get back to what we were doing, get back to crowds at our games and at our matches and, getting ready for baseball and softball and want them to be able to have them too. So, yes, it was we're ready. We're ready for a clean slate for sure.
Proud to report, too, that, during this hectic time, of course, this could all change. Could even change by the airing of this show. But we've done pretty well. We were still
able to
play basketball and to wrestle during the break. We've had some school systems and that maybe haven't been able to do that. So I'm very proud of our coaches, our administrators, appreciative of the folks here at the central office who've allowed this to continue to happen. So if we can make it through these next 2 to 4 weeks, I feel pretty darn good about what the rest of the year looks like.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's we've talked about it a lot in the fall, but I think it's a tribute to, number one, our coaches that we've got. They've taken it very serious, done a great job with it, along with their staffs, and then the leadership with you and Dr. Webb and Dr. Golden, and not a lot of people are being able to get everything in, but we missed no football, outside of some contact tracing games, things like that. But we got our football season in. We're getting most of our basketball and wrestling in. So there's a lot of places where that's not happening. So, it's never fun, but I think we need to be thankful and grateful for what we've had.
Tate, I have to give my former league that I worked in, 9 AAA, kind of a hard time. I don't know if you know this, but their policy right now is, and has been, if one of the teams is out because of COVID for a basketball game, they get a loss. It's not a makeup. It's just a straight loss. So they're not even attempting to make these games up. I was looking at this morning, and we got a few games to make up, but we're not really very far off of having a pretty complete schedule played. So I like our plan. I say ours, it's the district that we're in. But I was very surprised to hear that they were doing that.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. Do you know, how do they come about? Did the coaches vote on it? Is there
Well, yes, the coaches voted on it, which we couldn't even blame.
I'm surprised they got enough votes for that.
It was unanimous too. I was very surprised. Now I can understand that maybe as you get towards the end of the year, maybe you do some of that stuff. But, I was taking a look this morning. You take Ravenwood boys, for example, they've played every game. Brentwood boys was the team that was struggling the most. They had missed some games, but now I think they're maybe 1 or 2 behind. They'll catch up pretty quickly. Now, obviously, at the very end of the season, if you have some misses, then we'll probably have to take a look at that and see what has to be done. But I couldn't believe the thought of totally saying it's if your team's out, it counts as a loss and a win for the opponent. But they agreed to that.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. That's the only place I've heard of that. But not only do you get that loss, you don't even have the opportunity to make that game up. There's going to be some teams that could end up with not very many regular season games. That's that's why they're playing catch up. Just another example of why they're playing catch up to 11 AAA, right? No, by the way, you helped me. I forgot. The football in me comes out. I've been slipping up calling them region games or district games in basketball. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Well, I would say this, Tate, maybe you're just looking into the future. I think there's a chance. Now let's take 11 and 12 AAA next year, 2 5-team leagues. What would be the purpose of even playing a district tournament?
Right.
So, my thought would be, because if you're going to play a 5-team district tournament, you're basically playing a tournament to eliminate one team.
Right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. So
that'd make you feel real good about yourself if you were that one.
Yes, she puts you a banner on the wall that says a region qualifier, and then in parentheses put only one team didn't make it.
Right.
So I can foresee a situation where maybe in the future in those kinds of leagues that you eliminate one of the teams, the 4 or 5s play, whoever loses that game is out. And then now both districts, you have an 8-team tournament. So we'll see what it looks like in the future, but hopefully, I hope at least something like that happens.
Me too.
All right, let's start off. We've got a lot to talk about wrestling and basketball wise. Wrestling this weekend was supposed to be the 54th annual Father Ryan Johnny Drennan Memorial Tournament. That got canceled. What ended up happening, Fairview and Coach Bubba Derrick, who has some ties there to that particular tournament, and Coach Drennan decided to do something similar. It was an 8-team tournament, 4 of which were from WCS, and it was a very strong field. Wilson Central involved, Cleveland involved, Summit, Fairview, Centennial, Independence, to name a few. But I thought that was pretty neat. And Tate, you've been in this area longer than me. That's a pretty special event when you're talking wrestling.
Oh, it's the event. It used to be called the Father Ryan Invitational. Then they changed it to the Johnny Drennan, but it is the measuring stick in wrestling. And it's always been held about this time, and so it's really the measuring stick going into the state tournament. And the great thing about it is everybody's together. So most of the people come, most of the good teams in the state come. They always bring in some good out-of-state teams, and so for as long back as I can remember, if you won the Ryan Invitational or the Johnny Drennan Invitational at your weight class, you were a dude. Probably meant pretty good chance you were going to be really successful at the state tournament as well. So yeah, it's the most prestigious tournament. That and along with the GP West tournament at Brentwood for many years, but the Father Ryan Invitational, Johnny Drennan Memorial, they changed the name of it, but that was the deal. Coach Simpson wrestled in it at Father Ryan. He was a wrestler in it, and now he's been the coach for 20 something years, and he's kept it going. He told me they've had that. This is the first time they hadn't had it since 1968. So
wow,
pretty cool. And to speak to the quality of the teams and the ones that you just mentioned, one, I think it's unbelievable that Coach Derrick was able to get it together and pull it off that quickly. Saw on Twitter a lot of the coaches that came from the other schools were very complimentary of them, thankful, and also what a great tournament was. But, Wilson Central, they're going to be in the conversation for big AAA state champion. Cleveland, and then all the WCS teams there. That was a really good tournament. So I would say that the guys that were there got some really good work.
Well, and Coach Derrick, I know I talk about this all the time, and he's not the only one, but he really, really has done a great job there with wrestling at Fairview, and means a lot to him. In fact, this past week, got his 200th Duels win as coach of Fairview High School. And not to put pressure on Coach Derrick, but I've said it before, they're going to be the state champion this year, Tate. I'm telling you, they're just trending in that direction.
Well, I think they got a really good shot. I hope you're right, but they keep taking the steps, right? They've definitely taken the steps to do it. And yeah, what he's done there is amazing, man. I remember there wasn't even a program 20 years ago. And then it was a program, but it wasn't as exciting as it was since he's got there. But he's gotten there from the day he got there, and he's been beating the halls and the cafeteria and getting kids out, and a lot of multi-sport guys. And, you got to be tough to wrestle. And he's definitely brought some toughness to that program and also to that overall athletic program. But you're right. I think they got a really good chance, and I hope this is the year they get it.
Who was their previous head coach, by the way? I know this answer. This is today's Joins.
Man.
If you don't say it quickly, that means you don't know.
I know who the first coach was, but I don't. I'm going to go John Hill, but I feel like there was somebody in between.
Chris Hughes.
No way. He was what you call a gap filler. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well,
I hope a lot of football guys wrestled.
Unless Coach Hughes lied to me, which, by the way, is in play. But no, he's always at the matches. He's really into it. That's pretty neat to see too.
Hey, man, any football coach that doesn't understand that your kids wrestling make them better, I don't have a whole lot for you, because If it were me, all my linemen would be wrestling. Anybody who didn't play basketball would be wrestling.
Let's look at some results here, Tate. Independence finishes 7th, Centennial 6th, Fairview 5th, Summit 3rd, and then like you talked about, Cleveland 2nd. Wilson Central ends up winning the championship. In terms of individual results, Alex Abels finishes 1st from Centennial in the 152 class. Kendrick Curtis of Fairview, 182. Patrick Stiblow, 195 from Centennial. Ryan Smith, Summit, 285. And then you had the runners up, 160. Tanner Willett, Independence. Luke Justice at 170 for Summit. And really maybe the most impressive, I thought, Riley Bennett from Fairview, his first loss of the year at 138, but he loses to Trey McDaniel, who's the top wrestler in the state, wrestles for Cleveland. He loses 16-8. So even though Riley lost, I think he got better because of it.
Oh, no doubt about it. And now he knows that's who he's going to have. If he wants to win a state championship, he won't see anybody better than what he saw in Trey. And now he won't be there because Cleveland's in AAA, right? So, he knows exactly what he needs to do against a guy like that. But what Coach Derrick can tell him is that's as good as you're going to see all year long. And you held your own with him on the mat, and I think that's what this turn. I know that's what the Johnny Drennan's about, and I think that's why Coach Derrick wanted to have it. That's what it's about, man. Matches like that, you learn some things about yourself in a match like that you wouldn't learn when you're winning 15 in a row, 16 in a row, whatever.
Tate, we also made it official this week. We'll move on to basketball after this, but the state duels will be held in Williamson County, Mill Creek, Nolensville, Centennial, and Independence. Those 4 locations will be the locations for all of the duels state championships. So we're very excited about that, working with Mark Reeves from TSSAA to make that happen. I appreciate the coaches and administrators in this district being willing to do that.
Yeah. None of this is fun. None of it's easy right now, but that was we mentioned back before the break, weren't going to be able to use the Ag Center. So those are 4 really good locations. And they all know, because the coaches, even though it's been in the Ag Center, our coaches have been the ones putting it on for years, and the booster clubs, and everybody raves about the job that we do with it. So that's big. And the thing that jumped out to me is, Independence, Centennial, Summit, Brentwood, they all keep shuffling. It's kind of been, they've all been right there. And, who knows what you take from this, but Wilson Central and Cleveland will be there. You can bank on it. Summit, pretty big showing there by Summit. And then did you notice who was the second highest placing Wilco team in the tournament?
Yes, I did.
The Yellow Jackets.
I did.
Might be onto something there. That doesn't have anything to do with us, but Cleveland being 75 points ahead of, Wilson Central being 75 points ahead of Cleveland. I'm hoping that means Cleveland didn't bring all their people, because if it did, I wouldn't want to see Wilson Central come duel.
No doubt.
First round of the duels.
No doubt. Let's talk a little girls basketball. Like we talked about, we have had some cancellations, but looking at the standings, Centennial and Independence, both with no wins at this point. Franklin, Dixon, and Spring Hill, all with 2 wins. Ravenwood with 3. And then at the top, which I think is pretty accurate with the way it's going to potentially end, Brentwood, Page, and Summit all with 4 wins, Summit being the only team undefeated at 4-0. So it's starting to shape up a little bit. I think we'll know a lot more maybe in 2 weeks, but you can already get a little bit of a picture of what's going on.
Yeah, and the thing that's a little bit different this year, we knew Page, we knew Brentwood and Page would be up there. New Summit was be up there. Ravenwood's really, really playing well. They've got 2 young ladies that can score 20 points any night. The thing I wasn't counting on was Spring Hill already got a win over Brentwood. I thought that was, when I first saw that, I thought that was a misprint. So that changes things up a lot, man. They've improved a lot, but yeah, those top 4 that you mentioned right there, Summit, Ravenwood, Brentwood, and Page, any one could beat the other any given night. The Wolfman and Coach Wild and of the Lady Spartans, undefeated in district play. Pretty neat, man. It's going to be a tight race.
For sure. Hey, last Friday was kind of like our rivalry Friday, round one. Unfortunately, we weren't at Kings Bowl talking about these games, but were some great games. We'll start off with the Battle of the Woods. Brentwood 66, Ravenwood 64. We're talking girls here. Game winner by Amelia Osgood, the Princeton signee. Ravenwood was down by 14. They went on an 18-0 run to take the lead and actually had a chance to seal the game. Couple free throws missed by Elizabeth Flynn, the sophomore there from Ravenwood, with 0.9 seconds left. You felt so bad for her, but I know it's hard to explain to young people sometime. But without Elizabeth, who did a great job really guarding Amelia Osgood and scored 11 points there for Ravenwood, they wouldn't have been in that game. So I felt so bad for her missing those free throws. But, those things happen. If you're in competition and you compete, there you got chances for those kind of things to happen to you. But I know Elizabeth will bounce back. And again, she's a nice young player, and her best days are definitely ahead of her. But Amelia Osgood made a great move, great play there to end the game, split a double team, and then delayed it in there as time ran out. So just a great game there. Too bad the crowd wasn't big like it normally is, the Battle of the Woods. I was at this game on Friday night, but still pretty decent atmosphere, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime they get together, it's a big deal, and that's the cool thing with them closing that gap. And you mentioned they were down 18 and made a game of it, and that's what I'm talking about. You got, Lexi Erickson had 16, 4 of them were threes. Reagan Grimes has 21. I think Grimes had 10 rebounds to go with it as well. I'm telling you, Ravenwood's going to pick somebody off come the tournament, and there were a lot of times when this game wasn't even the starters were sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter, right? And here we are going to overtime, and I think the next one's going to be like it too. But you mentioned Elizabeth, she'll, sophomore, you'll learn from things like that. The other thing, I'm sure at the end of the game, she's probably tired guarding their best player, exerted a lot of energy, but hey, regular season game, something you learn from and use it when motivation getting into the district tournament. And Amelia Osgood, man, she's just a winner.
She is quite a player, one of the best players, if not the best player in Middle Tennessee. Sophie Roston also tossed in 12 there for Brentwood. Moving on, Battle of Franklin. Franklin with a 53-10 win over Centennial, a very short-handed Centennial team. Franklin jumped out 18-2 to start the game. Kate O'Neill led all scores with 15. Dylan Garner with 9. Lila Gardner with 8 for Franklin. They're playing better. They've got a couple of district wins. Franklin does. Definitely playing better. And they've got some young ladies who had a lot of experience last year, took some hits on the chin, so to speak. But Coach Johnson has Franklin playing better.
I agree. And when I was looking at those standings, or when you were reading those standings off, I know they're sitting there at 2 and 4. The thing that would scare me about the Lady Admirals is Kate O'Neill can score 20 to 30 points any given night, So they've got somebody who can put up a lot of points. And when she's playing well, you get some other those pieces going with them. They're another one. Record doesn't reflect it, but in my opinion, you'd be a better one to speak to that. When you got somebody who can score 20 plus, then you got a chance any night. And they're another one. I think they're one that if you're not careful, Franklin could end up sneaking up and biting you.
No doubt about that. Summit in the border battle, 63, Independence 23. Summit, as you mentioned before, 4-0 in the league. They were able to play some reserves quite a bit. Sydney Wright, who actually comes off the bench, scored 16. Delaney No, 14. Ellie Coulson, 12. Independence led by Evan Nichols under the direction of interim coach Mary Beth White. Independence, young team. I think Coach White's doing a good job keeping their heads above water, saying, look, our best days are ahead of us. But Independence, kind of like Centennial, struggling right now. And honestly, I don't see maybe a win in the league except for the wins against each other at this point. But again, these ladies are young. They'll continue to get better. And this might be one of those situations a couple years down the road. You say, look, we took our lumps as younger players and now it's paying off.
Yeah, well, and you saw it last year. They had been young the few years before that, and then had a lot of success last year, and that's what it's going to have to be again. And I love that Coach White has stepped in there, and that's not easy to do. She didn't know she was going to do it, and she's a school person, man. Athletic director, obviously, but she's a school person. She'd have done it, I think, even if she wasn't the athletic director. So
Yeah.
I know they're very appreciative of her, and I hope the community there understands what a big deal it is that she's doing that. But the thing that was cool I thought about the summit was you mentioned Sydney Wright coming in and getting 16. She backs up Ellie. Normally she'd be a starter, but you've got a Division I basketball player in front of you. But she comes in and gets 16. Coach Wild talked about maybe finding a way to get both of them on the court at the same time. I think we'll probably see that. But now you got another person that's in there that can come in and put up 15 plus points along with Delaney No. And we talked about it this weekend. Did you see the shot she shot right over half court? I mean, she maybe 2 steps over half court and drank. It was a full Steph Curry. It was amazing. So they get her going, maybe get a little twin tower action going down there with her and Ellie Colson. These young people don't know who that is. They need to Google it. But and then with Delaney running the offense, I know Coach Wild's happy with his team right now.
Yeah, they're a team I think come tournament time going to be really tough. 11 AAA boys standings. Franklin and Ravenwood in terms of wins sit atop of the league. Franklin at 5-1, Ravenwood at 5-2, Brentwood 3-1. Certainly some games to make up, but I would say when they've made up games, they're probably going to be right there with Franklin. Independence and Page both with 3 wins. Centennial with a couple of wins. Summit may be the biggest surprise to me, at least at this point, only 1-3 in the league. Dixon, which is no surprise to me, 0-5, and then Spring Hill without a win as well. So there's a lot of basketball to play, but we talked about this a little bit before the break. It looks like maybe Ravenwood has crept into that top 3, and I think a lot of us thought that might be Summit earlier. Obviously, they're getting the football players back, still getting their legs underneath them, but Summit will be a tough team to deal with once we get to the tournament, which, again, is way on down the line.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, when you get your football guys back the second week of December, third week of December, that's usually how it happens, right? You talked about that in your old non-AAA days. You'd see that a lot out of Hillsboro. The Hillsboro team was totally different in February than the one you saw in December and before Christmas. So that's what, Summit can't worry about overall record. I don't think Coach Fay and them are. But once those guys get in basketball shape, it's going to be a different thing. And I love what Coach Whitlock's got going on at Ravenwood. I've seen them play a couple times. I know you're getting ready to talk about the Brentwood game. They very well could win this thing. I think there's a couple of them that could. But with the addition of our man Noah Clifford, it's Clifford, right? Yeah, he's made them better, and so they've got some good young people, good young freshmen traveling and dressing and practicing and making them better. So, anyways, I think Ravenwood's got a good chance to be in this as well.
Let's talk about the Battle of the Woods. Brentwood comes out on top 50-47, a game that was back and forth all night. Late in the game there, it's 48-47, under 5 seconds left. Griffin Burke, who's just big-time player there for Brentwood and great leader for them. He steps up and knocks down a couple of free throws. Ravenwood gets really not a great shot off to end the game. Brentwood led by John Hopkins' commitment, John Windley. He led the team with 16. And then you mentioned Ravenwood, Noah Clifford, 11 points for Ravenwood. They were playing without Connor English. So, he's obviously one of the better players in the league. That makes a difference, but that's part of it, especially in the times we're living in, whether it be an injury or quarantine or whatever it is. You better be able to step up. It's really, I know football's always had this next man up mantra. That's really the case for all the sports this year. So it was a great game. And again, even though it wasn't the typical atmosphere, but still a very exciting game out there on Friday night.
Yeah, anybody who's in attendance at the Battle of the Woods Friday and watched both of them, they definitely got their money's worth. But, you were talking about Windley. I think you coached against him. He was younger. You've watched him the whole time. He's a great player, going to John Hopkins. But I think the thing about him the most is consistent. You know, I don't know that I've ever seen a 40, 45 point, and that's not really how they're built, but like he's always 15, 20 points, right? I'd love to know the last time he was held in single digits. I bet it's not very many, if at all. I mean, the guy's he's steady, consistent, and like you mentioned, along with Griffin, a leader. But I've really enjoyed watching him play. We're going to miss him. I think he's one of those guys, when he gets gone, you're going to realize he's probably even better than what you thought he was. Is that fair?
For sure. Does a lot of different things for that team. That's a great assessment, Tate. Let's talk Battle of Franklin. Franklin 67, Centennial 62. I think that score maybe surprised a few people. Franklin jumps out 9-0 early. Then Coach Moore and Centennial, they go on a 27-11 run. They're leading 27-20 at that point. But Franklin, they got that great experience. They've got those seniors, 5 seniors who started for a couple of years now. They've won 8 in a row. They're 12-2 overall. They get 21 from Kemp, 13 from Aiden Smiley, 12 from Connor Bevan, 11 from Taylor Spirito, Matt Thurman with 10. And this week, or actually, I guess it was before the break, but they recognized them this week, or maybe last week, I guess it was. Kemp and Thurman, both over 1,000 career points for them. Franklin's really, really trending in the right direction right now, Tate.
Yeah. 2 things. One, I think that 100% right on that. But then also that Centennial thing, that's kind of what we knew was coming. Nobody watches more film than Coach Moore. you know, I'd love to know how much film he watched leading up to that game. He was going to have a game plan, and they're going to be tough, right? They're going to play good defense and work the boards. And so the fact that they were able to go on a run like that against Franklin, I think that ought to show you a glimpse of there's good things coming overall Mallory Lane. But, you know, you probably have the best scorer in the league. And sometimes when Thurman, the game's dictating that you got 2,000-point scores there. Those other seniors, Spirito, a glue guy, just like he is in football, do anything. And then Aiden Smiley, the human pogo stick. But when you got 5 guys in double figures for the Admirals, excuse me, I don't know how they're going to lose when they're playing like that.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to beat, for sure. Tough to beat. Centennial led by Patrick Garrett, 20 points. Lincoln Holt, 12. Trevon Barbary with 11. So good showing there by Centennial. And that's another team kind of like Summit that you probably won't want to see late in the year. Final battle, Summit 57 at Independence 50. In the border battle, Coach Fay and the Spartans, a big loss on Tuesday, 75-31. But to their credit, they bounce back. They get a pretty good start to start the game. They're up 19-11 at the end of the first quarter, and it sort of stayed that way the rest of the way. Summit was led by Destin Wade with 18, Trey Hunter with 16, Independence, River Katina 18, Cameron Bell 8. And, you know, what I like about what I just mentioned, because you know how I love those multi-sport athletes, 3 of those 4 names also football players. So that's pretty neat. I think that you've got guys who are playing multiple sports, and that's a good win for Summit. Independence came into that game 3-2 in the league. Independence wins that game. We're having a different conversation about what the standings look like. They would be 4-2. Instead, they're 3-3, and then Summit gets their first district win of the season.
Yeah, that was a big one. And like you said, it was good to get that Franklin game, that taste out of their mouth for Coach Fay and the Spartans. But, you know, they're athletic for sure, right? And once the shooting comes around, that's when it's going to be a problem. But yeah, good win. Independence playing better, playing hard. But I think Summit's probably a little bit of a matchup problem for Independence as well. But, you know, anytime you got Destin Wade, anytime you got either one of those Wades on the court, you got a pretty good chance to do some good things.
Let's talk AA here, starting with Fairview. The Fairview girls, 6-7 overall. The boys are 2. The girls are 3-1 in the district. Boys are 4-0. So that's trending towards what we had said. We thought that they would both be in the top 2 by the time it was all said and done. Fairview's girls with a lot of experience. Kelsey Gossage playing well. Riley Dillingham, Mary Jane Kenton, Chloe Lee, Casey Mullins On the boys' side, it's different. Really, Kennedy Pendergrass, the main guy that they had coming back, he led the way in their win over Hickman last week with 14. Mays McCoy, that's a young man that you've talked about, had 9. And something that stood out to me in that win over East Hickman, they had 10 different players score. So got to give Coach McGowan credit for what's going on with Fairview girls right now, and Coach McCoy on the boys' side. They just seem to be towards the top of those standings regardless of the year. So give them credit.
Yeah, great job by Coach McGowan. There were times when it'd take 3 years to win 6 games, and they've kept the faith and built that thing up. And then I love looking at both of their records. Really, I'm sure it's the same story, but I love looking at the Fairview's record. They're 6-7. Oh man, they're not doing very well, but they're 4-0 in the region or district. My guess is playing bigger teams. I love that because all it's going to do is make you better. And they got a guy in Kennedy Pendergrass that he can put him on their back, and he's been doing that. And Mays, you mentioned Mays, Coach McCoy's boy, telling you he's a freshman scoring 9. He'll be 1,000 point. He's going to score a lot of points in WCS. He's a player for sure.
Nolensville, same kind of thing you were talking about before. Both teams are 7-4. 3 of the losses for the girls, Brentwood, Ravenwood, Summit. 3 of the losses for the boys, Brentwood, Franklin, Ravenwood. So again, they start district play this week at Giles County, both teams. But that's great scheduling on their part. That the good news, hey, they've lost to those schools. The bad news, I guess, for Nolensville, those will be league games next year. So, right now let's use those games to get better. Next year, it'll be, hey, we need to win those games because those people in our league now.
100%. At least they're getting an up-close look at it, right? But Coach Ladd knows, went to the state tournament last year, played pretty much the same schedule. He knows the recipe. Doesn't matter. All it's doing is making them better. And, you're right. You're going to end up having to do it anyways. But anytime you got Zoe Pillar, and then talk about multi-sport athletes, what about Cayman Ladd? She was a big part of the volleyball state championship, and then here she is playing basketball as well. So, that we don't talk enough about it on the female side of it, but that's a big deal too. She obviously knows what it's like to be a part of a winning team and a competitor, and I guarantee she brings a lot of that into the football. But Zoe is same kind of deal. Anytime you got Zoe on the court, you got a pretty good chance to do well. And in AA, they're going to be just fine.
On the boys' side, Coach Babington in year 1, he was obviously an assistant last year, but leaning on that experience of Davin Watkins, Max McAllister, Riley Byron, Ashton Smith. But they're a team, and they play Giles County, as I mentioned before this week. District time, those 2 teams are going to be right atop of those standings in their league. At least I think they're going to be Tate.
Oh, yeah. Well, you mentioned they're 7-3. Their 3 losses are to what I think is 3 teams that could make it to the state tournament in AAA. So there you go. Coach Babington is doing a great job, stepped right in and doing a fine job there. We forget, that program is not even 10 years old now, and on its 3rd head coach. And but I think he's fit right in. I think he's going to be there a while and build nothing but consistency there with that program. So 7 wins. That's kind of more. That's a better picture of what it's going to be like in AA than those other 3 losses.
I agree. 7-4, both teams, Tate. Both teams 7.
Sorry. Excuse me.
The 3 losses being to the teams who are in AAA.
Gotcha.
Tate, it's good to see you, man. It's been a while. Hopefully we were just hitting on all cylinders, even though we're Zooming again. We look forward to the day we can be back live and in person there with Creed, Lance, and Heather. But this is what we need to do right now. And, hey, the show must go on.
The show must go on, adapt and overcome. The Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield had to play without his head coach and play caller last night. Didn't seem to hurt him, man. You just got to, show up and play. Appreciate you letting me be a part.
Tate, good to see you. We appreciate all you guys out there watching us. It's been, again, a few weeks. Happy to be back in the saddle, so to speak. And we will see you next time on Sports Connection.